Welcome to Legacy Magazine Presents Lunch with Legacy Leaders, a weekly talk show that interviews national and local thought leaders on issues impacting the South Florida Black community. Now introducing our host, Chris Norwood.
Greetings. Hello. Once again, we are here for an exciting show, Lunch with Legacy Leaders. I am live from the historic Ward Rooming House. My name is Christopher Norwood, and today I'm so very excited. But before I get to my excitement, we of course have to acknowledge the people that make it all happen, which is Legacy Magazine, number one, and Desmond and Dover, Florida Lottery, AARP, FAMU, and All of Us Research. These are our sponsors. These are the people that you see, the organizations you see on our screen that help us bring all of this exciting information with you today. So again, this is Lunch with Legacy Leaders. Grab your lunch, grab your coffee, be ready for this engaging conversation. It is election time. So often we forget or disregard elections that do not have the president of the United States or some of those more sexier campaigns, but these are what's called our off-year elections. And in that, there's even people who run for office during that time period who are given even less time and less attention. And those are our judges. We are fortunate in the state of Florida to have the opportunity to elect all of our judges. Having democracy really at work is a very, very powerful thing. Did you ever wonder why the founding fathers, in writing the preamble to our Constitution, chose to use the words, quote, establish justice, end quote, right up front in speaking to the formation of our more perfect union? Well, I guess it was to stress how important the rule of law would be to our new country and that justice would be the enduring foundation of our democracy. Judges in courts each day strive to ensure fair, impartial, and the independent administration of justice so that each citizen is treated with respect, is treated with dignity, treated with fairness, and receives a fair shake in the application of our laws. Judges and courts have a significant impact on our daily lives, and we entrust them to make some of the more important decisions that affect us. These courts exist to protect our liberties, and our most fundamental and sacred rights are set forth in the Bill of Rights, as well as protect us from unlawful and unwarranted intrusion into our lives from the government itself. Without our courts, there is no justice, there is no freedom. As John Adams declared over 20 years ago, if we are to have a government of laws and not men, we need our courts and our judges to forever ensure that our legal rights are protected. And we know from history that no person is above the law, not even the president of the United States. So today, we have the honor of having three incredible lawyers, two of whom are currently judges, one of whom aspires to be a judge. And we're going to discuss the importance of diversity in judicial administration, the importance of having many different voices at a table when we begin to talk about the importance of our judiciary. And with that, we want to introduce Judge Fred Seraphin. Judge Seraphin was the first Haitian American judge in the state of Florida. What an honor for you to be here today, Fred. Thank you for joining us. I'm sorry, Judge Seraphin, thank you for joining us. I want to preface all of my conversation today before I introduce the other two guests, is that I know all of these people. I consider them all a friend. I express my conflict on everything that I say here today. With that being said, I also want to introduce Judge Lody Jean, who was the first Haitian American circuit court judge ever elected here in Miami-Dade County. And we're going to learn more about her in the next half an hour. And then I want to introduce Miss Brenda Guerrero, who is a candidate for judge, who, if elected, would be the first Dominican American elected here in Miami-Dade County, and one of the few elected, maybe even the second elected in the whole state of Florida. Now, you know, there's a long history of Haitians and Dominicans sharing an island. So we are now sharing this screen together in peace and prosperity. Uh, the first thing I want to ask Judge Seraphin is, how does your Haitian background inform your lawyering, number one, when you were practicing law in a as a lawyer representing clients, and how does it inform your practice as a judge? So I'm going to ask that same question to uh, Miss Lody Jean. How does being a Haitian American inform you as a lawyer, or did inform you as a lawyer, and how does it inform what you do as a judge today?
Thank you for the invitation and thank you for the question. Judge Lody Jean in French Creole, it's Lody Jean. Born and raised in Haiti, became the first Haitian American woman to serve as a judge in Miami-Dade County and the first Haitian American on the circuit court to serve. I was 18 when I came to the United States, and so having a very clean, fresh memory of what it was like to grow up in a different country than America helps me as I navigate on the bench to primarily understand different cultures. And I understand my Haitian culture very, very well, but it also helps me understand and to be well aware and sensitive to other people and other cultures, because in Miami-Dade County, 47% of us are foreign born. And we have to understand not only differences in languages, but differences in the way that different countries and different folks from those countries perceive the justice system, and in particularly the criminal justice system. There's a lot of hesitation, a lot of mistrust, just to give you an example. And so just overall, being able to say that I'm from a different country, and having that perspective, and being able to apply the sensitivities, the cultural sensitivities to my people, I'm able to best adapt to other people and where they come from.
Absolutely. And talk to us about your parents. Talk to us about what it was like growing up in Haiti, just very simply, so the audience can really understand what your background is.
So my great grandfather first came from a boat from the Middle East to America. The boat landed in Haiti. My family's been in Haiti since 1920. We lived in a town in the province called Gonaïve. And then finally we migrated down to Port-au-Prince. So if
The
it wasn't
central, that's called the Central Plateau, right? Is
the
that what that's
Central
called?
Plateau,
One of it.
yes,
You know,
yes.
I've been to this island more than I've been anywhere in this world, and I've traveled quite a bit. I think I've been to the island of Hispaniola maybe like 14, 15 times.
I
So
have some of the most fond, beautiful memories in Haiti. In 1987, I'm aging myself. In 1987, Baby Doc left. But prior to that, and I was about 8 years old in 87, but prior to that I can tell you about trips to the beaches. Alcaye has beautiful beaches. I can tell you about trips to the mountains. We have beautiful mountains. So you can go from a hot climate to a cool climate in just in a half hour or so. Um, Drives along the coast. We have beautiful coastlines in Port-au-Prince. Haiti was known as the Pearl of the Caribbean for a reason, because of the beauty of the country and also because of the richness of the culture and the heritage. So the memories that I have are extremely beautiful and fond memories growing up in Haiti.
absolutely. I'm going to offer the same question to Ms. Guerrero. How does your Dominican background inform how you practice law, the forms in which how does it make you, if you believe it makes you a better lawyer, perhaps, but how does it make you a different lawyer? Your
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I think it makes me. I'm able to relate to a lot of the immigrants that are here in Miami-Dade County because I am an immigrant myself. I was actually born in Puerto Rico. My parents are Dominican, and I traveled to the Dominican Republic growing up, all the way to I left my parents' home, and I am, involved in this community, even campaigning. People have a certain thinking of the court system, the way that it's practiced back in the Dominican Republic versus here in the United States. We do have more access to attorneys here. Pro se litigants are giving more of assistance in court, especially where I practice in the family division. And so I understand that I have to educate the folks, the individuals here when I practice that there's certain ways to do things here, and there's certain assistance that is offered to the pro se litigants here, and rights that we have here that we don't have back in the Dominican Republic that are precious to us. And so it makes me very grateful that I'm here. And that's why I strive to help and assist with the information that I have to assist others, especially the ones that do not speak English, that need that extra little bit of help.
And the same question I asked Ms. Jean, give us a little bit more in depth about your family, your parents, perhaps your grandparents. Tell our audience a little bit more about that.
Well, I'm the youngest of 7 children, and my entire family, they're pretty much born in the Dominican Republic, and half of my siblings were born there as well. I have a big family. We still get together twice a month in my mom's home in Alapata. And growing up, we always went back to where my mom was born, where my dad was born. They were born in 2 different parts of the island. And
those cities, what are those places?
Well, my dad was born in a town called Bani, and my mom was born in a town called Asua. Padre Las Casas, not Padre Las Casas, Asua. And so they were born in the west side of the island, close to Haiti, south of the island. And so we always went back there, ate fruits, ate vegetables, were with the animals, with the farming. And so I have a lot of dear memories growing up, going back to going in the rivers, and just enjoying the life back in our country, which I consider that my country as well.
Thank you very much. And Judge Seraphin, again, the question is, how does Haiti inform, or how has Haiti informed you as a lawyer? And how does that background inform your judicial duties as well?
Well, thank you so much, Christopher. I appreciate it. You just said before you called me Fred. I like when you call me Fred. I like everybody call me that.
Well, some people got problems, with calling judges, that by their first name, or not call them judge at all.
Well, it depends who's calling me like that. So since friends, people who I respect, I don't mind calling me Fred. People I don't respect, you have to call me judge. Anyways, listen, there was an article, this journalist wrote an article when I was appointed. He said a couple of things. He says, to understand justice, it helps to know injustice. And he said also that my appointment was tiny step towards justice. A victim of injustice takes tiny step towards. I stay.
So I think we're having a little bit of difficulty with Judge Seraphin. I'm going to move on. And I want to talk a little bit about the process, because we need to inform our listeners about what exactly is happening. Judge Jean, express to the public what you're undertaking right now, outside of your judicial responsibilities, but as the campaign is going, what exactly is happening right now in Miami-Dade County when it comes to August 23rd?
So the elections are August 23rd, and a lot of people don't realize that judges are up for election every so often. There are 123 judges, just to give you an example, a perspective, I'm sorry. 38 of us or so were up for election this year. There are 7 contested races. Just throwing out numbers, not to confuse anyone. 7 contested races, each one has 2 candidates. So the voters do have a choice between 14 candidates, 7 incumbents and 7 challengers. It's a big county. 2.7 million residents, 1.5 million registered voters. It's the August primary, August 23rd, not in November. Judges are nonpartisan. We're not allowed to talk about issues. We're not allowed to talk about what we would do in a specific scenario. We are very limited. It's very challenging to campaign. Having said that, culturally, we have such a broad and diverse culture in Miami-Dade County and people from all over. So while it can be challenging and tiring at times, most of us have enjoyed meeting new people, seeing different parts of the county that we haven't seen before we started running. But just to give you a perspective, it can be a behemoth challenge to run. And just to make it a little bit more complicated, judges, we tend to be at the end of the ballot. And so a lot of people don't get down to the end of the ballot when they're voting for judges. And so I hope with this forum, we can educate people about what the process is and hopefully get everybody to engage, because, we're all immigrants here. And if we're not, I think we can appreciate the democratic system. And so, you hope that everyone exercises their constitutional right to vote, because in many, many other countries like Haiti and elsewhere, it's very limited, if not impossible, to have a free and fair democratic process for any candidate.
Thank you. I think you speak for all the candidates in that description of the process. Thank you very much. Judge Seraphin, I'm going to let you continue to tell us how your Haitian background informs your duties as a judge.
Well, the history of my family in Haiti is one of injustice, I would say. We moved to the United States. I moved there. I was 11 years old. By the time I was 11 months old, we had had the injustice leave an indelible mark on my life, because my father was an opponent. He was a fighter. He was one for democracy. He was a representative. He was elected, and he stood up against the Duvaliers. And because of that, he was killed. He was murdered by Papa Doc. I have a brother who decided to stay in Haiti after he took me to New York to meet up with my mother, and he winded up. Judge Dean mentioned Baby Doc. He winded up being a political prisoner of Baby Doc for 5.5 years without ever being accused of charged with a crime. Absolutely no justice. Same thing for my father. They just locked him up. Never actually told us what they did with him. He had no trials, no accusations. I say this to explain my commitment to justice. What we didn't have in Haiti, God has it, and I thank God for it, that I am serving justice, having been a victim of injustice. That's how it's really shaped me. And then in 1982, I was arrested for an armed robbery I didn't commit. And that experience, going through that system, is when I committed myself to serving justice and public service in that way. And I made a commitment to go to the public defender's office. In 1986, I was in fact hired on graduating Austria Law School, and I moved on to Miami. So that's what my passion is from, having been not only been arrested myself, but I've been victimized by injustice. I was raised by 5 wonderful women. I like to say my mother had to raise 7 children, and Ms. Guerrero, I'm the 7th of 7 too. And the baby, and my mother, she's a strong, powerful woman. She agreed with my dad to stay and fight for the people in Haiti. And he asked her to do this much because he knew he could lose his life to make sure that all their children have an education. And I am grateful for her, my 4 sisters. They really gave me the love. They are my village with my 2 brothers who raised me and color how I view justice and how I view everyone else who does injustice. So that's what Haiti, and the fact that I'm an immigrant, just like so many people. I grew up in New York, and I love the fact that I was in Queens, and it was a diverse group that I was in my high school. We played soccer, so we had people from just about every nation that plays soccer today that you know of. And it's been very diverse. I have a group involved, people of different nationality, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Mexicans, Jamaicans, Greek, and these are all the people that in our high school that we get to be with, frequent with, and play soccer with. So
Thank you.
that's how it's colored my work as a lawyer. I was a lawyer for 15 years before being a judge, most of that in criminal defense. So, and that's because, as you can tell, I understand how quickly someone can lose their liberty and how quickly our rights can be abused. And that's what I've been doing for 36 years, is protecting, defending, and upholding people's rights, protecting, making sure that the constitutional rights are protected.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And, Ms. Guerrero, I'm going to ask you a very important question, and then I'll circle back to Ms. Jean. There's been research that has stated what people look for in a trial court judge. Some of the responses in a national survey are very obvious ones. They want the number one attribute or characteristic is the reputation for integrity and high ethical standards. The second one may not be as obvious for a lot of people. The third one is deep legal knowledge. But the second one is being a good listener. Is in a national survey by lawyers, was deemed as being the second most important characteristic. Why do you think being a good listener is a good attribute for a judge?
Because your role as a judge, or my role as a judge, if I'm elected, would be to hear both sides of a case, hear the litigants, what they have to say, the facts, the law that they're citing, the evidence presented, and then make a decision regarding that. I would have to literally switch my way of thinking, and we all do it. All the judges have to be attorneys, and even the sitting judges, they had to do this. They had to learn how to switch their way of thinking. As attorneys, we're used to talking and advocating and speaking on behalf of our clients, and our job is to literally talk. But if you're, as a judge, your role is to listen, not talk, for the most part. And so you have to be heard. Litigants do take notice of that. I'm a practicing attorney, and my clients tell me after trial, after a hearing, oh, the judge was attentive to my case, or my judge was not attentive to my case. They notice. They know if the judge is looking at a computer, is talking to somebody else, if their eyes are wandering. So you have to listen. It's very important, because if you don't listen, then you can't make the right decision. You can't rule correctly. And so it's very important.
And Judge Jean, again, this was a national survey done, and I know some of the responses for me were eye-opening. I wouldn't have thought that the number two characteristic of a trial judge. Now, let's keep in mind this report. It looked at trial judges and it looked at state Supreme Court judges, and there were some differences. There was a 30-point difference in the importance of being a good listener as a trial court judge than it was as a state Supreme Court judge. So why is it at the trial court level that it's so important that a judge is a good listener?
Sorry, I muted myself. So there are two thoughts that come to mind. The first thought is that phrase that says, someone will never forget the way that they felt when they're around you. And I think that goes hand in hand with the feeling that someone believed that they were heard, that they were able to pitch their case, which goes into the second thought that I had is, for the most part, when a judge explains their ruling, and the litigant can follow along as to how the judge was thinking, applying the law to the facts, they mostly respect the outcome. They mostly respect the conclusion. And I think people understand it's an adversarial system. Someone is going to feel as if they lost, depending on the judge's ruling. And so, but if the person appearing before the judge believes it was a thoughtful ruling, that it was fair, they were heard, they will more likely than not accept the ruling. And remember, we have an appellate system also in Florida. So, there are remedies that are available. So I do believe the patience goes hand in hand with the feeling that you were heard in court, and that the judge gave you, a fair ruling by applying the facts to the law.
Right. And I do want to inform our audience that, as you mentioned earlier, Ms. Jean, there are 7 races for judge. There are 14 people running. None of the people who are on our show are actually running against one another. They're all in separate races, and sometimes it can get a little bit confused. I implore everybody to really look at their sample ballots, really look at all of the candidates at the bottom of the ballot, and do some research on each and every one. I'm going to also refer back to this research study that was done because, again, this was a survey done looking at trial court judges and state Supreme Court judges and the attributes that were deemed desirable. And one of the big distinctions that I saw in this report was that the amount of desire within the respondents to the community impact that a judge has had or is having, or the amount of community organizations that they are involved with prior to becoming a judge or even as a judge. There's a big difference in the respondents from a trial court judge to a state Supreme Court judge. Ms. Guerrero, why do you think that there is, and it's actually a 30-point difference in understanding community preferences? And that's the exact question, the exact question that was responded to. Why do you think judges should understand their community more so at a trial court level than at a state Supreme Court level?
It's important because you're going to be making decisions regarding all members of your community that come in your courtroom, and different nationalities, different customs that they have. And so it's important that when you make a decision as a judge, you understand what their intent is behind their action. And that comes with where the person is from, how they live, what certain phrases that they use, certain behaviors that they have. And it also, makes you understand that you're acceptable of all members of your community, and that you're unbiased, and that you welcome everyone, from whether they're men, female, their sex, their gender, their sexual preference, their country. And so that you're as a trial court judge, you really welcome everyone into your community. That's what a judge is. That's why, as Judge Lody was saying before, Lody Jean, that some people skip over judges, and they shouldn't. And I actually was speaking to somebody yesterday that was telling me that they skip over the judge's selection, and they shouldn't, because they have to understand that being from part of this community, it affects them who's on that bench. And so since it will affect them directly, they should care who's on the bench. And it's an important decision, and that's why it's a good thing for judges that are on the bench and judges that are candidates are part of community service, do their part of community service, because they have to care about the community. If not, then it's not a good job for them.
So are you currently involved in any bar associations, Ms. Guerrero?
I am. I'm the president of the Dominican American Bar Association. I'm also a volunteer judge for teen court for about 7 years. that mentors juveniles to make sure that they keep on the right track and help them if they want to become lawyers or public speaking, they can do that. I'm also a member of ESAC, which is the board of South Miami Middle School, and appointed guardian ad litem for cases to look out for the best interest of the children and make recommendations to the court. I'm also a volunteer attorney for No More Tears that represents victims of domestic violence in Miami-Dade County and in Broward County, and also human trafficking. So I've always been part of this community. I've always tried to do as best as I can, as much as I can for the community, be a part of it, and just put my little grain of salt. So yes, I am involved, and I hope to continue to be involved if I'm elected judge.
And well, first of all, let's be clear about something right now. We are all St. Thomas University School of Law graduates here, affectionately known as Stu Law, and I'm sure the university would be very proud to see this lunch with legacy leaders because of that. But I've known Lody for many, many years. I know she's been very involved. Was the president of the Haitian American Lawyers Association. Tell us about some of your activity in the community, Judge, before and during your time as judge.
So the Florida Bar recommends and encourages judges to volunteer especially on voluntary bar associations, because they're seen as a bridge from the legal community to the regular community. And so in addition to being a member of the Haitian Lawyers Association, I'm a member of a handful of other bar associations, including Florida Association of Women Lawyers, Caribbean Bar Association. And whenever I can have the time to participate in other bars, such as the Dominican Bar Association, I do. They had a toy drive not too long ago, and so we were able to participate in that. Prior to taking the bench, I was the president of the Haitian Lawyers Association. I also served on the Haitian American Chamber of Commerce and another community organization called Saint-La, which translates from Creole to English to the center. And they offer, again, bridge services for the Haitian American community. And so I've done countless of hours of volunteering. When I was in private practice, I practiced immigration law, and I took on a lot of pro bono immigration cases. We also put on a lot of forums and clinics through the Haitian Lawyers Association in partnering with other organizations. We're limited as to judges as to what we can do regarding involvement in nonprofits and for-profit organizations. I am, in addition to being a member of several bar organizations, I am a current member of Angels for Humanity. They offer healthcare services and school supplies for children in Haiti. And they also have some services going on here. So Calvin Hughes is one of the board members, and we actually have a backpack drive happening August 4th. So hopefully sooner rather than later, we'll roll out that advertising, and so that parents and kids can take advantage of that.
Wow. So I have one last question before we get to our closing statements. And my question is a question that I ask to candidates that I work with professionally. If you're not prepared to go to the voters to ask them for your vote, you should not ever aspire to be in elected office. Many of them don't like it when I say that, because they many times there are people who have been in office for many years. They don't want to get a challenger, but it happens, and we always have to be prepared for that. And when you campaign, you learn so much. You value your position even more so. And I'm just curious, you ladies, you have to campaign countywide. There's only 4 other people in this county that have to campaign countywide. That's our state attorney, our clerk of the courts, our public defender, and our property appraiser. And you have to do it with a pittance of the amount of money that they have to raise, because you cannot directly ask for money. And to make it worse, you can't even talk about issues, really that concerns people. So in your effort to talk to people from around this county, what has been one of the greatest lessons? What have you learned? Is there a community that you learned about that you never visited? Is there some issue that just came to you that you never thought about before, but because you're going out and asking people to vote, you just have a totally different perspective on it. Give us a nugget of what you've learned in this process, Judge Jean.
So I've learned how big this county is. I always knew it was large, and what I can say is I appreciate more now how culturally diverse it is. I always thought I fit in, but now I know I really fit in. And I've said this before, I've said it again, I'm very proud of my unique name, my diverse heritage. I live in the great melting pot that is the United States of America. And Miami-Dade County is a testament to that greatness.
Thank you. And Ms. Guerrero, I offer the same question to you.
I've learned that people welcome candidates. They do. When, for the most part, when I go up to the members of the community, they're happy. They want to know who I am, what I'm there for, what my role as a judge would be. They want to be educated, and people welcome. So it's a good thing to go out there into the communities, try to speak to them. You have to kind of educate them when the election is. A lot of people think it's in November when it's actually now in August. How to register to vote, that judges are important. And so they're happy to hear, they're happy to take my flyer and, to follow me on social media. So for the most part, if you're running for public office, go out there, meet the members of your community, because for the most part, they're very happy to see you and meet you. Very important to meet them.
Thank you very much. Very rare do I have an opportunity to have people like yourselves who are running for office to be on the show. Last week, we had the Congresswoman from Broward who's running for re-election. The week before that, we had Del Holness, who's also running for Congress. So we've been on a tear with candidates, but this is the time. We need to educate our community, and this is the service that Legacy Magazine has presented for the readers and for our listeners. So I hope everybody has been entertained as well as informed. I want to give Ms. Guerrero an opportunity to make a closing statement.
Please, I would be honored if you vote for me on August 23rd or during early voting, which is from August the 8th to August 21st, or vote by mail, number 92. I've been involved. I've been an attorney for 17 years. 12 of those years, I've dedicated myself to public service. I have a family law firm now. Before then, I was an assistant state attorney defending the rights of children. And before then, I worked for legal aid. So for most of my career, I've dedicated myself to public service. I love my community. I'm part of this community. I attended public schools. I have young teenage children that they also attend public schools. I want to continue making a bigger impact in the lives of people. I want to be able to be the type of judge where you go into my courtroom, I'm punctual, be respectful to not only the litigants, to the attorneys, to the court staff, to everyone, and to be able to serve in that capacity. I want to be the first Dominican American to serve, at least in Miami-Dade County, as a judge, representing the thousands of Dominicans that are here in this county. And I thank you for your time. And I want to also let you know I've been endorsed by a lot of leaders in this community. I've been endorsed by the South Florida Council of Firefighters, the AFSCME, and many mayors. And please, if you can read a little bit more about me, please feel free to do so. My website is www.brendaforjudge.com, or follow me on social media at Brenda for Judge, or on Facebook at Brenda Guererro for Judge. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to being elected. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Judge Lody Jean, closing statements.
Thank you.
You haven't heard that in a while, right?
Right. Thank you again for the opportunity. So Judge Lody Jean here. In French Creole, it's Lody Jean. I became the first Haitian American woman to serve as a judge in Miami-Dade County. And I think we all know elections matter. Elections matter. Every election matters. And, the voters deserve transparency. The community deserves judges that are experienced and that will serve them with integrity. I've been your judge for 3.5 years. Prior to that, I was a litigator for 14 years, 8 years as a government lawyer, 6 years practicing immigration law. I like to think that a good litigator makes a good judge. I know the challenges facing private lawyers as well as government lawyers managing a large docket. I also believe in community service and giving back, and mentorship, which is what I benefited from a lot when I was a younger lawyer. I'm one of 2 judges that serves as a liaison judge between the courts and Miami-Dade Public Schools. I also humbly ask for your support to keep me on the bench. I'm the only Lody Jean in Miami-Dade County. If you want to Google me, you can find me. You could also go to keepjudgejean.com. Keep Judge Lody Jean also on Facebook and Instagram. And please remember to punch 91. 91 is my ballot number. Thank you again.
I want to thank you all, and I want to make my own short closing statement. Today, more than ever, our courts serve as a safe haven for the peaceful resolution of disputes. Conflicts and disputes are part of life, and whether it is a contract that is alleged to have been breached or a marital relationship that is broken, a dispute over the provisions in a will, a dispute between a landlord and a tenant, an alleged case of medical or legal malpractice, or any other dispute that arises, it is our courts that are called upon to hear the dispute, listen to the parties involved, and to try to reach a fair and equitable result based upon the facts presented and the law as applied. Some refer to our courts as problem solvers. It says that our courts, our judges, are responsible for administrating justice without fear or favor, to be fair, just, and impartial, and to apply the old adage that just because we disagree doesn't mean we have to be disagreeable. Who we elect as our judges, who we elect as our problem solvers are important. We have a diverse group of people in Miami-Dade County. Our bench must reflect that diversity. We have 1 male, 1 female, Haitian American judge in Miami-Dade County. The people will decide whether they both have deserved to be there, whether the Haitian American community just deserves representation in our court system. And then we have a young lady who is a Dominican American from Alapata. We all know Alapata. She graduated from Jackson High School. We have no Dominican judges on our bench. Dominicans have played an enormous role in our community. The people will decide whether they should have representation, but it's up to us to be informed, know who all of the candidates are, and make a wise choice on August 23rd. I want to thank you all for participating. I want to thank our sponsors once again, Des Mesman and Dover, Florida Lottery, AARP, FAMU, and all of us research. See you next week. Lunch with Legacy Leaders.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.